Welcome to another episode of Bringing Down the Grindhouse, a podcast where we discuss horror in musicals. Welcome to another episode of Bringing Down the Grindhouse, a podcast where we discuss horror in media. And tonight, bare your fangs and unzip your pants as we dive into Interview with a Vampire.
I gotta redo this whole thing.
No, we're keeping that one. Sorry. He said, what did you say?
Horror in musicals.
No. What did you say for the line? Something about taking off your pants.
Yeah, I was like, so bare your fangs and unzip your
It's
pants.
basically what this movie's about. This is homoerotic
That's what
as
both
fuck.
of these movies are about.
Yeah,
both of
it's
these
great.
Sexy gay
A
vampires.
lot of sex
Ooh.
scenes, a lot of gay tension.
And some music, too.
And, some music. With some of the episode we're going to do next week, which is Queen of the Damned, which is basically new metal, the movie.
Wait, are we in podcast yet? Are
Yes,
we
we're-
we
Yeah,
are recording?
no, this
okay,
is
understood. I
official.
thought we were fucking around.
No, we're actually
Yeah,
recording.
This is the booze now. All right, so
this is an
my
else-
name is Mitch.
I'm Murr.
I guess I'm Justine.
This is so off the rails. I'm Jonathan.
All right, so if you guys are done fucking it up for everyone, now let's move on.
Wow,
to
dude, really?
Are we keeping all this?
Yes, we're keeping
Yes.
all of this.
So
Oh my
anyway, so
God.
we've got a Patreon set up. You can go check that out. It's pretty cool.
I can't, dude. I can't.
We have a
man.
Teespring with our shirts on
gotta
it.
redo
You can
this.
buy those if you
Not
want
at
to
all.
support
Keep
us.
it.
We're keeping that.
If you support the Patreon, you also get to recommend movies for us to review, or games, or books, or comics, or insert media here, as long as it follows the horror theme. Anything else we got going on?
So for a little context, this is a very special boozy episode of Bringing Down
Quite.
the Grindhouse. I mean, how else are you going to watch vampire movies?
Well, especially these because they're really cheesy. They're like products of their time from the 90s and the early 2000s.
Yeah.
So it's exactly what you'd expect a movie to look like from watching specifically Interview with a Vampire, which came out in the 90s and had Tom Cruise in it, which might be one of the most awkward castings I've ever seen for a vampire.
One of the other draws that they definitely went for was Anne Rice's book series,
Right.
The Vampire Chronicles, which is what Interview with the Vampire is
Yep.
the first book, which follows The Vampire Lestat, and then Queen of the Damned is the third
See,
book.
I didn't even know that those movies and books were connected until I actually got the books themselves, and I
Right.
was like, "Oh, that makes sense." Because I was watching Queen of the Damned, like, don't I know another vampire Lestat?
Yeah. Well, for one, the name has been used a whole bunch of times in popular media, but she ended up losing a lot of control of her baby in going into the movies and stuff. They didn't want her to be consulting on the movie for a lot of the time and made a lot of complaints, and they sort of just stole the rights away from her. Warner Bros.
Yeah.
did a takeover of the company that owned the rights to all of her books to make them into movies, and she was not on board for Queen of the Damned when that was made, but she did help a little bit for Interview with the Vampire and actually got the writing credit when it came out.
She was really happy with how Interview of a Vampire came out.
Yeah, she was very
said,
scared.
She said it was a masterpiece. of,
What? Really?
Yeah, she called it a
I
masterpiece.
mean,
Well,
for
she
its
later
time-
said to forget it.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Okay, so then she takes it back.
Well, yeah, she kept changing her opinion a lot.
I mean, when it first came out, I imagined it was probably something really spectacular. But in comparison to movies that have been coming out since then, it's kind of cheesy. But I do have to admit, the costuming, the set design, the makeup, the hair,
Yeah, it had a
minus
huge
the
budget.
crap wigs, are all extremely gorgeous.
They did Antonio Banderas bad by giving him that wig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was like some Spirit Halloween wig.
Yeah.
So something you should also know, I mean, I know that we're on a movie here, but something that we should know, because we have pending eroticism in this movie.
What do you mean
to discuss.
pending?
Pending. Oh yeah, it's very much there, but we'll be discussing it later. So, but Anne Rice goes by a pen name in which she writes erotic fiction.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the pen name is Anne Rampling.
Nice.
Or A.
Hey, how seductive.
I love the descriptor for her. When you look her up, she's written Christian literature as well as erotic literature.
Yeah, as well as
and
erotic,
you're like,
Christian
oh,
and erotic
all right.
literature.
Well,
So
shit.
I'm just saying, where is the Christian vampire erotic literature?
You
I
just
want it
combine them
all
roll
together.
Roll it all up together.
I want this chaos.
It would work.
please. I People would love that shit.
They would eat that up.
for
Yeah.
Jesus fucking. That's what we're at right now.
Everybody loves naughty Christians and naughty
Oh my
Catholics.
It's true.
Everybody
And-
loves vampires.
That's why
you
Everybody
read
loves
50
sex.
Shades of
Like,
Whoa,
come on.
especially naughty vampires.
Ooh, naughty Christian vampires.
Naughty.
Here's the thing, though. Do you think like Anne Rice goes to like Thanksgiving, and then like her cousins or nieces like, oh yeah, that's the repressed aunt. Like,
Probably.
Right.
Furiously writes.
Well, she's
about
old
this.
as fuck now. She's like 79, I think.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
That's not even that old.
That's old.
Nah, like 90s old.
Buddy, Anne Rice is 79.
That's what I said.
That's what you just said.
I got you.
I just said that.
I got your back is what I mean.
Oh,
here.
all right then.
Anne Rice is 79.
All right, Mitch, take a shot.
All right. Yeah, time to take a shot.
Yup.
All right, going back a little bit.
Yo, can we do a podcast drinking game? That
Jesus
just gave me
Christ,
a
let's
great
not do
idea.
that. Let's not do that.
Yes, no,
No.
every
Go,
time
go,
you
We're
say
go,
already
one of
go.
your little
belligerent enough
quotes.
with me drinking as it is, but
I'll get the bottle, John.
So
So follow us on Patreon
Oh
if you
my
want a
God.
podcast drinking game.
entirely drunk. Interview with the Vampire came out in 1994, so this movie's old as fuck. No, I'm
Is
just
it
kidding.
old as fuck?
it's
Old
like
as fuck?
it's like 30, almost 30 years old.
26 years.
You know.
So are you calling Mitch old as fuck?
Yeah, is that
yes,
what you're
we're
trying to
old.
say right
We
now?
are old.
No, we are not old.
In
We're
fi-
only 30.
You're not
30's
old.
the new 20, bitch.
In film
The
terms,
fuck?
this is an old movie.
Bro, I work with 80-year-olds,
Oh
right?
my
And they say,
God.
you fucking child, like, ease up on your old speak. You know? Like, fucking...
You're old speak.
I had a heart transplant, bitch. What the fuck did you do? Like, that's like how they talk to me.
It's like, I went to college.
I went to college.
Damn, you work here? Anyway. Fuck, I'm so derailed. It was directed by Neil Jordan, who is most known for the movie The Crying Game, which is a movie that came out in 1992. He got to direct Interview with the Vampire because of that one, and that one originally won an award for the best original screenplay.
I have a question for you.
What's that?
Have you ever seen The Crying Game?
Yeah, it's a really good movie.
Is it, like, I don't know anything about this movie. So, like, is it just
It's,
bunch of people, like, playing a game?
Oh my god.
Where they all just
I
try to,
walked
like,
right into that one.
out-cry each other? Like, is that what this is? I don't know.
No, it's actually about a group of NRA members who kidnap a guy for a ransom, but then one of the NRA members ends up kind of feeling bad for the guy and ends up talking more to him, finds out he has a girlfriend, then finds this guy's girlfriend and then gets into a weird romance with her, and then has to figure out whether or not he's gonna like stay with her and tell her that he has her boyfriend like locked up.
So you're telling me that there's an NRA member that cries
Yes.
and loves?
Yes.
Whoa.
Unheard of. Anyway.
What a
Right.
concept. I think
Yeah.
that's a lie. That sounds like a lie.
Yeah, it sounds like some fat bullshit to me, man.
Oh my god.
I'm
Bullshit
gonna
meter.
fact check you.
Go ahead
Fact
and fact check
check.
me. Go ahead.
I will say though, there is the fun fact about how all the actors were like hung upside down and like spun around.
Yeah.
Oh, for Interview with a Vampire?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so they
make
could.
him look all weird.
So like all the blood would rush to their head, and I know that Brad Pitt especially fucking hated shooting this film because of that.
Well, he also hated shooting with Tom Cruise because he said that he was such an ass during filming.
Oh fuck!
Because he was like the main star in the film, even though Brad Pitt was pretty famous at that point. He
Yeah.
felt like he was a bigger star than him, so that he was constantly like ignoring him on set, and we really only talked to him when they were filming together. And he's like,
Jeez.
"You suck as a vampire. Like, why are you in this movie?" He wasn't even like the first choice. He kind of forced his way in because
Yikes.
he was like, people knew who he was, and he was like, "I want to be a vampire," and then got like a $10 million paycheck off of this movie, including getting a percentage of the profits from the movie. So he got a lot of fucking money from this. What's funny is that him and Brad Pitt were like never in a movie together ever again.
Makes sense.
Because he was like, I hated filming with this guy. It was fucking awful. And then, like we mentioned earlier, Queen of the Damned is a standalone sequel for this film because it's based off of another one of Anne Rice's books.
And I know that a good connector between the two is that Stan Winston did the effects for it.
Yeah.
So like he's like the guy that was known for like Terminator,
Jurassic Park, Alien.
like all those classic
Yeah.
fucking movies. And he's a big name in Hollywood, but he did both these movies for some reason.
I mean, he probably just got approached and was like, "You want to do some cool vampire effects?" And he was like, "Yeah, fuck it."
I mean, the costume design, the makeup's done really
Yeah.
well.
Oh, all of
Yes.
that for this movie was well done because they had a huge budget for it.
They had-
So
Yeah.
they're
But
able
What was the budget?
they had a budget of $60 million, and they made $223.7 million at the box office. Huge commercial success, which is why they wanted to make the second and third film. but they did not make it in time and ended up losing the rights like shortly after I think they made Queen of the Damned, which they completely ignored Anne Rice's like pleas to not make that movie because they kind of just loosely based it off of her shit.
Yeah, I actually got the audiobook for Queen of the Damned, and as I was listening to it, I was like, wow, this is literally nothing like the movie. I mean, very loosely connected, but the whole intro, they skipped a lot of really interesting shit in the beginning. You get to see some of the other vampires, get insight into this whole vampire coalition that's going on.
The good news is that she has now obtained the rights to her books again and is going to make a TV show.
Oh, shit.
That is pretty cool, and I'm very excited for Mrs. Rice. However, I would like to say that I really enjoyed Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt's acting in this movie as vampires.
I agree.
Really?
They were very, very dramatic. And I
Oh,
liked it a
okay,
lot.
yeah.
It really played up the.
I did not like Tom Cruise at all.
It
in
felt
this
like
movie.
a playwright.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, honestly,
definitely.
like, I think Brad Pitt was very true to his character. Like, his acting was pretty on point and not over the top cheesy. And Tom Cruise, on the other hand, I don't know. It was like he was literally in a play. But, like, you can't really necessarily do play acting for film acting. There's definitely a difference there.
Well, it's considered a gothic horror film, which includes a lot of theatrics, so it makes sense that he would act like that. But to me, it felt really melodramatic sometimes. But people loved it. They liked this movie a lot.
because
I
people
mean-
like long-haired vampires.
Yeah,
And he's
It's a
blonde.
thing,
You don't
though.
see blonde vampires either.
that's fair, actually.
They're all channeling their inner Peter Steele. This is what they're doing here.
Okay,
alright?
tell me why, though, when that vampire Armand showed up, I was like, who put Peter Steele in this movie?
Oh my god.
Legit, Antonio Banderas is like he was just a big typo fan.
I
Yeah.
love him in this movie, but
he's
man,
great.
that wig.
Yeah, that way
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
so
Well,
mad.
Who was the little girl? She's like super famous.
Kirsten
now.
Dunst.
Yeah.
This was her debut in a film. They freaking scouted her at the age of 11 for this film.
She was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This was a
she
good
was
job.
She even won an award for being the best supporting actress in like one of her first roles, which is why she just blasted off after that.
As a child.
Yeah.
That's
they
amazing.
did such a good job with this movie. They really did. Like,
I
getting,
was
getting the
convinced it was an
storyline
adult.
following- Yeah, exactly. Like getting just like, I mean, they got the casting really well. At least I thought the casting was really good. Like, they did a really good job of building up the plot. They did a really good job giving you all the information you need to know. Everybody in the story felt like they had their screen time.
Yeah, that's true. And they had enough different there was like definitely a how to explain it. There was this idea of time passing, like how much time they actually spent together was really relevant in the movie with all of the different stories that happened. And then Lestat like coming back after being poisoned basically is great, and seeing him come back like that.
It was awesome. And then when you know that it took him 10 years to come back.
Right.
So, like, after 10 years, imagine you're like, buddy was like, remember you drained me in the swamp?
Yeah.
And, like, comes back to, like, murder your ass and cause a whole bunch of problems.
And then
and
it's
then
still
gets lit on fire.
still
And
alive
it's
after that too.
Well, that's
Yeah.
the thing. It's like old school, like New Hampshire or Massachusetts. I can't say the state.
Massachusetts.
New Orleans.
New Orleans.
too.
That's what it
New
is.
Orleans.
Yeah, I
New
mean, it
Orleans.
starts with a beautiful like plantation and shit like that. But then, like, I like the idea that the Brad Pitt eats rats because he doesn't like to kill humans.
Yeah, you had the two different types of vampires.
Wait.
in
Can
it.
we backtrack real quick? Did
Yeah.
you put beautiful and plantation in the same
Okay, but
sentence?
here's all I'm saying though is the fact. Okay, those trees, the weird trees that hang down,
You're talking about the landscape.
Yo,
The
Brad
landscape.
Pitt freed the slaves.
and that
He
too.
freed the slaves at the end of that whole arc.
He
Okay,
did.
So
he
let's
did.
give him
I-
let's give him props.
There's
where props
there's
are
a
due.
type of tree that only grows at those plantations that like hangs down, and there's like
Yeah,
crocodiles.
it's all in the bayou.
Yeah, like the bayou stuff. I like bayous.
I do like the bayou.
But- and then the plantation burns down.
They had a completely different perspective on that. You were telling me about it earlier. Just
Yeah,
seeing-
when I was listening through the book of Interview with a Vampire, I actually didn't finish it. I should finish it. But they spoke of the slaves with a lot more revere than they did of the,
The
other
film.
people,
Oh.
the
the slave
aristocrats.
owners, the aristocrats. They made a mention not to call them as slaves because they are not slaves. They are the enslaved people. They weren't born as slaves. They were made into it. And that's not
Jeez.
who they are. They also, because of their culture, are more aware of like spiritual things, maybe a little more superstitious, some people would say. But given that, they're a lot more intelligent than the aristocrats were and able to recognize things. They were the first to suss out who the vampires were and figure out what was going on long before everyone else got wind of it.
Well, that's the thing. There's like this there's like sort of a subplot like the enslaved people know like the signs and tells of vampires, so much so that like their white owners or traders would not know. So they kind of like, there's like that little bit of voodoo also behind it too. Like they like, I know the woman who's working at the tavern immediately gets drained, and then like after they find out, it's all a whole big thing. But the thing is, they know when people are undead and not.
Mm-hmm.
They also tied it into some of the narrative. Apparently, Lestat preferred people who were of like the Creole descent.
Yeah.
Because he was like, that's like the best kind of blood. And you're like, oh, all right.
They have better blood because they eat better food. They season their shit.
And apparently eating a rat didn't taste very good.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what his complaint was.
I imagine rats taste a lot like aristocrats do.
No, he said oh, that's funny. Well, he did say that he loved eating evil people because supposedly they tasted better. So
Damn,
like that old lady who killed one of her slaves, he was like, oh, she's going to be great because she's one of these pompous old people. So he loves hunting amongst the rich people and killing them.
I mean, they also love just turning on their prey right before diving in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This was such
I'm
a
about
like
to dive in. Okay.
Just like, all right,
adding so much eroticism to the vampirism of them, like seducing them, and they're very attractive.
Bruh, you can't have neck biting without sex. I'm just saying.
But here's the thing, though. One of the funniest parts of the movie is when they get like hookers in like a very fancy hotel,
Right.
And it's just like, I'm gonna suck your titty, but I'm not sucking your titty.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
biting your boob. The boob bite is one of the best parts of that whole scene.
Oh
to
my
be
God.
quite honest.
Titty go pop.
Oh
Yeah,
my god.
Blood. Exploding boobs.
But also, I have to say that the intro where Brad Pitt was like, I lost my wife and I lost my kid. And then the guy's like, you're cheating at this game. Prepare to die. He's like, fucking do it.
Yeah, I know. Pulls his shirt open, everything. It's so dramatic. People were like, yes, Brad Pitt chest. This is what I signed up for.
That's what I signed up for. Shit.
What was interesting was for the casting for Lestat, they had so many other people in mind. The writer, Anne Rice, actually had a European actor named Alan DeLoyne for the role, and he was a really famous person in Europe for being an icon during like the 60s and the 70s as being like the sex symbol on screen. And so she really wanted him to be like an older vampire, but they refused because he wasn't that popular in the United States. And then they considered having John Malkovich, Peter Weller, and Jeremy Irons, who would have been amazing for that. But
Dude, Jeremy Irons would have tore that shit.
he would have been so good as that
He would have
role.
been so dope. Oh my god.
And then she even suggested that Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise switch roles just to kind of alleviate that the way that he was acting that character.
Honestly,
but
I feel like Tom
yeah.
Cruise would have made a better Lestat because I don't know when
Such
I
a
think of
whiny
Lestat.
bit.
No, when I think of Lestat, I think of like that unhinged bad boy, you know, and I feel like Brad Pitt brings more of that energy than Tom Cruise does.
Right.
Tom Cruise is sort of like that awkward hero, you know.
Yeah, that's true. He is kind of awkward. I mean, she did lament afterwards that he did an okay job and that it wasn't
An
absolutely
okay job.
It wasn't absolutely terrible. She even
So you're
called
telling
him.
me he was mediocre?
Yeah, she had. I mean, it's Tom Cruise, but what she actually did really like was Brad Pitt's character. Because who doesn't like Brad Pitt?
John, I do all my own stunts, okay?
I just keep thinking of all the interviews he does for Mission Impossible where he's like, I do my own stunts. And where they're like, okay, that's cool, but we're talking about something else right now.
It's like, did you hear though? That you know that flip that I did?
The only
I
one
did
that's
that.
super impressive is the one where he holds his breath for like 4 minutes or something like that in one of the Mission Impossible movies.
How
Other
did
than
he
that,
not
I
go
was like,
brain dead?
he like trained for it. I don't know, it was a whole thing. He has like a 40-minute long interview where he explains that.
just that.
Yeah, exactly. That's just that. The guy who interviews him at the beginning, the reporter or whatever he is, was supposed to be River Phoenix, but he died before he could do the role on film. So instead, they got Christian Slater, who actually donated all of his salary from this movie to one of his favorite foundations, one of River Phoenix's favorite charitable donations.
Damn.
So he decided that in honor of him and because he was cast so late, he wouldn't take a dime from it, which is really good.
That's
for him.
honorable.
Right? It's like, oh shit. So that guy made no money on that, even though he wasn't in it that much, but still.
You know, smoke a cigarette, ask a question.
Yeah, he was asking a few questions. This is one of the cases where a really big movie won a Razzie or a Golden Raspberry Award, which is usually given to very terrible movies. And it was for the combination on screen, worst screen combo for Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise. They think they did not work well together at all. Nobody went to pick up the award though.
You could absolutely tell too, kind of that they're having I thought they both did well.
Yeah,
you could definitely tell there was some tension going on there.
They didn't quite have that my maker chemistry. It was more like we're being paid to be in a movie together.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We're gonna
But
be in
here's
this
the thing.
movie together.
In the movie, they have different dichotomies.
Yeah,
So
also
it kind
that.
of like, I'm pissed off at you. Well, shit, I just don't like you
Well,
behind
I just don't
behind this
like
movie. So like, I'm gonna be pissed on more on screen.
true.
Did you say pissed on more?
Yeah, he said pissed on.
Oh, so it's that
I mean,
kind of movie.
this movie was definitely gay.
Anyways,
They had one of the things about it too was that there was supposed to be a part of the story where Louis changes into a woman, and she purposely made it so that he does not, so that the film would in fact be very gay and have homoerotic overtones on it.
I mean,
Didn't you say
the moans during the wrist sucking,
Right?
scene?
Oh,
Come
yeah.
on. All the
suck that wrist.
yeah.
Ooh,
Oh, wow.
yes.
They were into it.
No more, no more.
Yeah. Oh, stop! No more.
Can you imagine everybody on set are just like leaning
Are
over,
we?
like, oh, okay.
Homeboy in the corner got an
Are you
awkward boner.
Yeah.
Uses his papers to
He's
cover
like
his
holding the
crotch.
boom mic, trying to like,
What did I sign up for? No one told me this was a porno. Like, what the fuck?
because he's got that in his ears. Like he has the headphones on. He's just like, oh.
But you were telling me it wasn't, if there was a female Louis, wasn't it supposed to be played by Cher?
Yeah, so if they actually had done it and changed him into a female character, who would have been cast for it? It would have been Cher.
Do
That
you,
would
Oh,
have, yes,
Yeah.
that would have been amazing.
do you believe?
She
in
was supposed to
love?
help make a song too.
This is the second time I'm making this point.
Oh my gosh.
So what we really know now is that Tom Cruise,
No, not
Brad Pitt's
Brad Pitt.
alternate ego is Cher.
Yeah, if you had to really know what the official version would be, it'd be Cher,
All right, so just so you guys all know, Cher is Brad Pitt.
because that's who they wanted to cast really badly, and she was supposed to make music too for the film, but they did not ever hire her.
Why the fuck would you get Cher to make a movie for what the fuck?
I have a question for you though.
If I could turn back time, you know, what the fuck is she gonna do in this goddamn movie?
John,
Yes.
do you believe in love after love?
Do you believe in love? I hate all of this. Holy
After
shit.
love, I can feel something inside myself.
I love how much y'all know Cher songs.
Yo,
that was
that's
our
like-
jam.
That was
Literally.
our jam for a bit.
Yeah. Every time we would get in the car, we would play it. It didn't matter whose car it was.
Oh my god.
On the way to podcast. Just hearing that synth line, din 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 din. Just like
And we digress.
Holy shit.
So what we know now is that, I mean, we already repeated this fact. So moving on.
good point, man.
Brad Pitt
All
and
right.
Cher. That's all we need to know.
But we gotta talk about how Kirsten Dunst was in this movie, and she's 11.
She
That's
was so
nuts.
good.
She was so good.
Really good, but I couldn't get over the fact that she's a child and she's just cuddling with grown men, and it was weirding me
And she
out.
even kissed one.
That's true. She did.
It weirded me out, but the thing is, she's been stunted at growth.
Well, at first it wasn't weird. It got weird when she was older and then got like the crazy bloodlust and then was acting like an adult. And I'm like, I don't know how to feel about this.
Well,
Because
like she's always had the bloodlust.
well, her character is supposed to be older, but it's still an 11-year-old actor. You know what I mean?
I mean,
It
yeah.
was still weird.
Well,
I mean, it depends on how you look at it, because you could look at it in a way as that these grown men took in this child and is now like
Well, they always mentioned
not necessarily holding her captive, but kind
Yeah.
of keeping her as a pet. But at the same time, you got to think about Louis and how in
Yeah.
the beginning he lost his wife and he lost his kid. And
Yeah,
he
so it was
took
like
in
a
this
new
girl
kid. Yeah.
because he felt bad for her, because he saw this woman, this dead woman with her child weeping next to her, and he probably like had some sort of sense of empathy. Like, I know what that must.
Well, he
feel
ended
like.
up biting her and then regretting it and had to take
Well,
her
because
back.
she was dying, and he wanted to save her, and in that way, he gained himself the kid that he never had.
and then they got
or the kid he lost.
really short roommate.
Yeah,
Really?
exactly.
Well,
Sure.
I'll say this: she kills it as a murderer. I love the
Yeah.
scenes of her playing piano like a god, and then immediately like her piano teacher's dead on the fucking.
That was the
seat.
funniest bit because they were like, "Not in the house." They were like, "You need to get these people
And then
outside."
it's so funny because like everyone's like, "Oh my god, you're such a sweet little girl. Like, let me buy you a dress." And she's like, "Yeah, please." And then she just takes them in, and you see coffins, literal coffins of kids and women just leaving the house.
Right. It was fucked up.
Honestly, she was the real star of the movie.
Yeah,
She killed it.
Which was really good.
Literally, she killed it.
Hey, but the secret underground vampire fucking
Club.
that shit's so funny to me because like when he goes to actually destroy them after a fucking intense scene of them killing Kristen Dunst and the fucking woman.
Right, yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
how the fuck do vampires kill vampires? I was like, wait, there's a million ways. Never mind.
They're like, yeah, we're just gonna roast you alive. No big deal.
That sounds horrible.
It is kind of funny though that they always put a lot of emphasis on them being immortal, and I'm like, but what about the sun?
That's true. They could have just
That's
left
an
them
easy
tied up
way to kill a
outside.
vampire, or just burn them.
Yeah, burn
Well,
them.
Stake
unless
through the
you're
heart.
stat.
Well, you could do the Blade route where you have the ultraviolet lights. That works too.
Ooh.
But they were in like
It's a pocket
olden
sun.
times.
Whoa, let's not try to mesh our mythologies here, okay? Because theirs are different universes.
In Interview with a Vampire, you can't kill them with a steak or garlic,
There you go.
which you can in Blade. So, difference. Apparently, you still need a coffin, though. They needed to sleep in a coffin.
Yeah,
They didn't
if-
explain why. They just said you needed one.
If I make a cross out of a shotgun and a piece of wood, does that count?
Does not work. In fact, Louis likes looking at crucifixes. That's
Yeah,
one of
that's
his lines, which is
fucking
weird.
great.
I don't really know. He's like, I rather enjoy looking at them. You're like, okay. In this
How-
weird empty room where you invited me to have an interview.
How do you
I
feel about
think,
coffins? I love coffins.
I think in the book, I might be remembering this wrong, but Louis was like a devout Christian man before he became a vampire.
Oh, that might be why. Yeah, that
He's
explains
like, this
it.
reminds me of my past life.
Yeah.
So the thing with like movie translations from books is one is they're going to leave out details or they're not going to show you because books have time to set up a narrative. They
Right.
have time to explain. Oh, Louis was a Christian
Yes,
man
yeah.
before, but movies
Yeah.
are never going to set that up.
No.
So it actually is impactful if you've read the book, like Justine
Yeah.
Right.
has. When you watch the movie, you're like, oh, it's because he was a devout
Yeah.
Christian. That's why he actually likes looking at Christian.
You can fill in
You
the
know.
blanks for some of
Yeah,
them.
exactly.
That makes
which is
sense.
kinda
I
cool.
agree.
Well, I would guess that the books are much better. Didn't she
Oh,
say
yeah.
they have like a
Everyone I've read.
more explanation for like their motives and why they want to do certain
Yeah.
things?
Definitely, especially in Queen of the Damned, which we're going to talk about in a later episode.
Yeah.
but-
Next week's episode.
Yeah, I would recommend if you think the movies are cheesy, but you like vampires, please read the books because the books are incredible. They go into a lot more detail.
Yeah, Anne
about
Rice is a really good author.
everything. And those books are long. Like, I think the audio recording I had is like 18 hours or something like that. So
You know she's a good author when she can write erotic literature and regular mainstream literature and have them both be successful.
Yeah.
but I mean, Justine, how erotic is Interview with a Vampire?
Pretty
though?
erotic.
it's pretty erotic.
Yeah.
You got.
I remember being like really young, and my mom, I was like talking with my mom about vampires or something, and she was like, well, if you like vampires, when you're older, you might like this book, Interview of a Vampire. And she was like, but there's a lot of naughty stuff in it. Paraphrasing, of course. But
There's a lot of fucking in that book, kid.
there is
All
a
right?
lot of
Oh my God.
fucking, and it's great.
Yeah, wonderful.
Wunderbar.
I mean, this is probably one of the quote-unquote sexiest vampire movies I've ever seen.
Yeah, there really isn't too many others. Maybe like what's God, I'm blanking out. The girl who wears all latex. And
That's
she
already
dates like a werewolf boyfriend.
Oh, fucking.
Why I'm afraid
Underworld,
Underworld.
right?
Underworld
Yeah.
is probably
Yep.
going to compete with it as far as like sexiness goes.
As far as movies go,
I'm
and
gonna
definitely
have
like.
to rewatch those.
Yeah.
I'm
Those-
saying though, if you like sexy vampires,
Yeah.
the TV series are where it's at. Like the originals and True Blood,
Jesus
sexy
Christ,
vampires.
Yeah.
Yeah, True Blood is literally just porn. What with vampires?
With blood.
Yeah, exactly.
It's porn and vampires
Yeah.
featuring
There you go.
Lafayette.
Yeah,
Oh,
Lafayette,
right, yeah,
the
that's
star
real.
of the actual show,
Well,
Lafayette.
Here's the thing though,
And
like,
that annoying girl with the gap tooth. Anyway.
like vampires.
Sucky.
Vampires were never blonde.
Yeah,
They're always dark-haired.
usually dark haired.
So like I'll give points to Tom Cruise for being a blonde.
Same with Brad
Vampire?
Pitt's character.
And then finally, like I believe he was like the antithesis for Alucard in the Castlevania series.
He's such a whiny bitch, so that makes sense.
One of my favorite Tom
Fuck
Cruise
my dad.
lines from this one is when the interviewee is leaving and he's driving away, and then Lestat appears in his
It's
car.
great.
and it's just like, are you sick of this whining? I've been listening to that for centuries. Yes, I was like, yes. See, that was like a good moment, like a good character moment, just being like, I'm annoyed with this asshole. Like, goddamn.
We should talk about how Kristen Dunst's character fucking just slices his neck, and then they burn down a fucking building.
That supposedly was like one of the state of the art CGI or special effects scenes, because they cut to an animatronic that had like all these weird things in it, which is why he looks kind of wonky when he's like bleeding out. And it's just because they had made an animatronic just for that scene and then cut to it.
I'll give a good fucking kudos to like when he destroys all the vampires, just putting gasoline or alcohol all over them.
Yeah.
And then I believe they just straight up had like a seesaw or a teeter-totter and just started launching things.
That was great.
It was just like, oh, I'm out of my coffin and I'm fucking dying. I'm burning over here. Boom, boom, boom. It was so comical, but so good.
The intro to those characters is also weird because they're like having a play where they're pretending to be humans, pretending to be vampires, and then actually commit like the changing of someone to a vampire on stage.
Or just straight up like public murder.
Yeah.
Without the people knowing that they're murdering
Yeah.
I
That
just
was
wonder
clever.
if how that's how they got everybody in their coven, is they brought them on stage and then turned them into the vampire, and they were like, well, you don't know what you're doing, so you're gonna have to stick with us. Sorry.
Probably. Although I could see why it would be a bad idea to turn that many people, because then you have to maintain all of that. And it's just too many people.
Positions of power.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have like a hierarchy of some
Fucking
sort.
vampire politics.
And that's
Yeah.
the thing. And then we'll talk more about vampire politics and Queen of the Damned, because there is
Right.
a slight hierarchy in that fucking movie.
Well, they definitely emphasize it more in that movie.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so obviously Antonio Banderas' character, which I forget his actual character name. What was the character name for him?
Armand.
He was like the leader, so he must have been a little older.
Mm-hmm.
But I loved all his costumes. He had like the fancy reds on all of his
Yeah.
costumes.
Yeah.
It was
He
great.
was like the most purest of the ancient blooded
Yeah,
vampires.
he's very suave.
super like in there. I'm the fucking head honcho of this house. Listen up.
Having a play where he's the star.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
You know?
What
Yeah,
a
no,
dick.
for sure.
He was that kind of vampire. So he was kind of doing what Lestat does later on in Queen of the Damned, where he's like, I want to be like adored, and makes his own band and shit. So I enjoyed that aspect of it. Did you guys have any favorite scenes from Interview with the Vampire?
I gotta go with the launching scene. It's just too good.
It was kind of comical.
Yeah.
Honestly, I have to agree that the launching scene, but then there's also the boob biting scene.
Please
So
tell
I'm
us about the
conflicted
boob.
over my love of
talked about
gore
that.
and my love of boobs.
It's a good point of view.
And then one of them, it's a good point of view. Murr, do you have a point of view for boob biting?
Oh, this is so horny. It's fucking crazy.
It
Yeah,
is.
there you go.
This is a very horny movie.
Yeah,
Dog.
this movie wants to fuck.
Rule 34
that's
has
really
probably
what we
had
know
a
about
fucking
it.
field day with this movie.
Every day.
There's your point of view.
I mean, we need to drink and record podcasts more often, honestly, because the idea is just coming out of me.
See, this is why I suggested it. Look at all
Yeah,
y'all.
look at it. We're so bubbly.
I'm completely
Wow.
sober.
We are so
No way.
flowy.
I don't lie to them, John.
No, for
he's
real.
a tank.
Oh, he's-
No,
It takes,
actually,
like,
I drink a lot.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It takes like a bottle to get him drunk.
Well, we're working
Maybe
on it.
like, I don't know if it's like a whole lot, but
Not a whole
Move
bottle.
it on.
Yeah. What?
Well-
Justine? Did you have your favorite scene?
Yeah, did you have a favorite scene?
It was more of like a favorite moment. Is I really like the montage scene with the little girl when she was like coming up into her vampireness,
Oh yeah.
and they started with like her getting her dress fitted, and then just like fucking killing the dressmaker, and then doing the piano lessons, killing the piano man. I don't know. There was something that was just, it was very lighthearted, but also very dark at the same time, which I really enjoy, that kind of juxtaposition she had going on. Because in one way, she's completely innocent to her nature as a vampire, but on the other hand, she also is a vampire, which is considered to be something very evil, but she doesn't see it as such. She's really just living, and I love that.
It's totally like that interview style, just like, yeah, we trained her how to do it, and she did it. And you're seeing it in real time with like the music flowing and just like
Right.
coffin after coffin after coffin. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, she's a badass already.
And I'm sure if she had been allowed to live for longer, she probably would have taken over everything.
Yeah, which would have been interesting because she's a child, so it's like, or she's the size of a child at least.
And it's not often that you see vampires being children.
Yeah, that's true.
The only
Actually,
other time I've seen that was like What We Do in the Shadows, when he goes to like a vampire convention, and
Yeah.
then there's the little girls that show up, and he's like, "Oh, I'm actually caregiver for these. They're 1,000 years old." You know,
I
they're
feel
here
like
for
it kind of
4."
has to do with like the sex appeal of vampires, is that you wouldn't want to have a kid in the mix because that kind of like ruins the sex appeal unless you're a fucking creep. But then also I think of things like Twilight, because I actually did read the
Jesus
Twilight series.
Christ.
But in Twilight, the Vampire Coalition had a rule against making children vampires.
Yeah, because they didn't want that scenario to happen.
That's totally a thing in like vampire law, according to different mythologies and whatnot. Even what they do in the Shadows is like that too.
I
that
think
they're
it's
not
also
cool with
because
it.
like you can tell a adult what to do and they can use their logic and reason to understand why they shouldn't do something. But as a child, if someone tells you not to do something, you're gonna do it anyways just to figure out what will happen. And that's why children as vampires are dangerous.
You're more prone to natural inhibitions as children because you don't have the understanding of, oh, if I do the thing then someone dies. You don't care about that because you're bloodlust. Let's rock.
Wow.
Wait, I have a
It's
question.
kind of like a baby scorpion.
If she was, what the fuck? If she was turned as a child, does that mean that her intelligence is like capped? Like she can
No,
only-
no. She can
not at
still
all.
no, because they say that she is like an older person, but just in a smaller body.
But you know what I mean, like physiology, like. Well, technically she's dead, so I guess it doesn't really matter.
The
But-
funniest thing
Her
to
body
me-
doesn't
Yeah.
change at all. She's stuck in
Yeah,
whatever form she
but you
was
know
when
how
she
some,
turned.
you know how like when
yeah,
you're a
like
kid,
they say,
you're
like you turn 25, that's when your brain starts
yeah,
stops
exactly.
growing.
That's what I'm saying. Is she like capped because she's 11?
I feel like it's different for vampires. I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
vampire logic, but if you can live 1,000 years and become a different person
Yeah,
at
I'm
the end
sure,
of those
yeah.
1,000 years, I'm sure it'd be the same for a child.
Right.
Because children can understand just as much as adults can. It just depends on the environment that they're nurtured into.
Yeah, Lestat turns into a new bad old fanboy.
And sometimes how was it explained to a child as well? Like the
But
Yeah.
what you were saying earlier makes sense where they wouldn't, if you get turned as a child, chances are that you're not going to really have any restrictions on anything. Like they even spoiled her too, where she could get pretty much whatever she wanted.
Yeah.
That must
And-
suck though, because
yeah.
you're capped at the age of a child, so you're gonna get fucking fuckload of toys over 1,000 years.
Exactly.
And then she even has like covets other body types and whatnot
Yeah.
in the movie itself
Yeah.
because
She
she wants
wants
to be
to-
those
yeah.
grown-up women and stuff like
So
that.
she may potentially not have any sort of sexual relationships with anybody because it would just be pedophilic
I
at
mean,
that point.
And
Yeah.
I don't even think that it stems from like a sexual. She just wants to be an adult.
Right,
She wants
yeah.
to have that experience, and so she never.
She
gets
wants to be revered in a certain respect that
Yeah.
adults get.
Yeah.
Because,
Then-
when you look
Oh,
at a
that's true,
child,
yeah.
you treat a child
That
like a
makes sense.
child because they look like a child.
How do you feel like, oh hi, you're such a sweet little girl? You're like, I've been through this 1,000
yeah,
times.
for real, I get really annoyed.
Yeah, I'm real sweet. Slit your fucking throat. bitch.
Yeah,
Just like-
it's like,
kills them.
but here's the thing: you can't get a drink, can't have sex. Like, I believe the point of her getting killed is kind of just like, yeah, you shouldn't make kid vampires.
Yeah,
It
don't do
was
that.
almost merciful, even though it was sad to see her go because she was such a badass.
Yeah.
But in a way, she was saved from a very miserable life.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, could you imagine being a kid for the rest of your
I
life?
could not. I would hate that.
even Louis, Brad Pitt's character, even says that he doesn't want the interviewee to actually have the interviewer to become a vampire. Where he like says, "Is this really like what you want?
Yeah.
Why would you listen to this story and then say
Be like, yeah, that's what I want.
Yeah, I really want this fucking anguished, torturous existence that you have right now. Great.
That's why he just ends up leaving. He's like, whatever.
It's really a matter of perspective here.
Can't
You
can't
know,
die from
someone
lung
who has
cancer.
No fucking idea what it's like to be a vampire, and then the actual vampire being like, "It's
Right.
not that fucking great, dude. Calm down."
Well, I will say this: Kristen Dunst said after she kissed Brad Pitt, she was so just grossed out because she thought Brad Pitt had cooties.
That's so awesome.
Ew,
That's so
Oh my
awesome.
God.
She was like, "Ew, gross. Brad Pitt has cooties." So it's also confirmed. Not only is Brad Pitt also Cher, but he does in fact
have cooties. Yes, it's been confirmed.
This has been a
confirmed.
special insider
Yeah.
report
Oh my
from Bringing
God.
Down the Grindhouse.
That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
you're
welcome,
I love
bitch.
that.
Yeah. So watch out for Brad Pitt, his cooties, and he's also Cher.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well then, with all of that, what would be your final ratings for the film?
Y'all are gonna hate me, but I'll probably give it an 8. I
Nice.
mean, as cheesy
you.
and
Well,
ridiculous as
we
it
all
was,
enjoyed this.
I'll give it
I
an 8.
thoroughly enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, it's
I
a good,
thought
it's an entertaining movie.
aesthetically it was gorgeous, and
Yeah.
even though they can't put everything that's in the book because it's a long book, I think that they did a pretty good job at telling the story for what it was.
This fucking movie is such a good goddamn vampire movie. Like, legit. They've got good character development, actual moral qualms.
That's true.
Some good, like, backstory, like, some back and forth. They've got some good performances from everybody that's in here. Like, very solid performances. The writing is not atrocious at all. It doesn't make me go, oh my god, why the fuck would they put that there? And it just does a really good job of, you know, telling a vampire story without being too cliche, I would say.
If there is a definitive vampire movie from the 90s, yes, Mitch.
I give it an 8, by the way.
After that long spiel, yeah.
I'll give it to this one. But did Blade come out in the 90s? No, 2000s, right?
No, it was 2000. Actually, I don't know. I had to look it up.
See, here's the thing. Like, if Blade came out in the 90s, then they're both contenders. But if not, this is the 90s vampire movie you want to see.
Blade came out in 1998.
Okay. So they're contending. They're fighting. But
I say anything past 97 is the 2000s.
Yeah.
Blade, you're looking for a different thing with Blade.
Yeah,
You're
that's
looking
true.
for violence and killing vampires, and that's it.
and Wesley
Yeah.
Snipes
You're
being
looking for
badass,
drama
you know.
and a story.
No, see, that's the thing. I'll give it to the set design, characters. I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
And-
Blade's more of an action hero.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I
but
like
but I love Blade, so
I'll give this an 8.
I'd
I think
give
this,
Blade a better rating.
I
for
think this is
whatever.
a solid movie. I saw it like 2 months ago, and then I saw it again. I gotta say, I still enjoyed it, even on a second watching.
I think this movie's highly entertaining, even though at some points I thought it was very melodramatic. But that's just because I'm looking back on it, and so it's like it was good for the time.
And I feel like that's kind of the point.
But
with
that was
vampires,
yeah,
though, right?
exactly.
That's
They're
kind of- that's
very
the point.
extra. They're dramatic. They
Yeah.
want to be the center of attention. So
Absolutely.
it makes sense that they would be these overly. I think they even make fun of each other at some point, where like he's afraid to kill someone. Louis doesn't want to kill anybody, and Lestat is just making fun of him. Where he's just like, "You're gonna be like this forever. Like it's fine. Like you'll get over it."
Yeah.
He's like, "Stop being so dramatic." Like especially when he kills like the poodle.
Is being so dramatic.
It's like, yeah, and he's just like, oh no, like I didn't do anything. He's just like laughs at him when he picks him up and pushes him against the tree. He's like, what are you gonna do? You can't kill me. Like, relax. And then just continues to mock him through like the rest of it. And he's like, you know what? You guys are getting tiresome. I want like new people to hang out with. So it's like it's all enjoyable. I'd probably give it like an 8 or like an 8.5.
You know what else that whole scene with the poodle tells us about Brad Pitt?
He doesn't like dogs.
No, he's not a fan of G-MILFs.
She was old. She even says it. She's like, I could be old enough to be your grandma.
Grandma, yeah, and he's just like,
Then
yeah,
they
you
make
are.
out.
That's my thing.
You never know. Shit.
And then
You
we
didn't
get in
wanna take
those
the plunge,
granny
we killed the
panties.
dog.
Well, that is it for this episode.
Is it?
What's up, Mur?
Is it really?
You
Uh,
have something to say?
Yeah. Take us home, Johnny.
Johnny boy. Onward.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Bring You Down the Grindhouse, a podcast where we discuss horror in media. We have a Patreon that you could subscribe to at a $2 level. Give us a recommendation. We are going to be releasing, or the episode will be released from our patron Sean, that episode being Wolf Creek. $2 a month helps us out, as well as gives you a choice to review some media. We also have our socials, which you could follow us on any of the following platforms: Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Give us a like, a follow on there, as well as review us on the Apple Podcast Review. We are streaming everywhere that podcasts are available, that being Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Music, the likes of which you already know. And I'd say that's just about it. Oh, we also have t-shirts.
Merch!
Yes, you can buy a t-shirt. You can buy 2 t-shirts. You can buy 7 t-shirts.
Buy a
But-
t-shirt for the whole family.
They're on our Teespring, so check
Buy us
out.
our own.
Check it out. We have merch available if you like the podcast and want to support us. It helps us out a lot. We have 2 designs up there, one with the logo and one with the sexy castle.
Also, follow us on OnlyFans. We're going to be producing some
Yikes.
Yeah,
horror erotica content.
I spread my asshole for you. That's what I
Oh
do
my
on
God.
our fucking
This is my
OnlyFans.
OnlyFans. Here's my butthole.
Hey, you can't
That's-
steal my joke.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That was literally your joke.
But you didn't quote me.
I didn't even know that. Oh, quote Justine on our OnlyFans. Show you my asshole.
Yikes.
Subs start at $15 a month, but you can get extra content for $5.
Pay me $30. I'll stick stuff in it.
Oh.
I'll stick your favorite horror action figure into my ass.
All right, time to find the Toxic Avenger figurine.
Yeah, he's going for a deep dive.
Boy, you can't afford that. Anyways,
Christ. Go ahead, Mitch.
let's get out of here.
Yeah, I'm Mitch.
I'm Murr.
I'm Justine.
And I'm Jonathan. Thank you.
Holy